Hey, welcome back. Last time we clamped up our handguard, got it ready to be glued together, which it is now. So today we're going to get rid of the handguard, not the handguard, we're going to get rid of the clamps. And we're going to shape the handguard so it's a little bit more exciting than this. So essentially, it's going to be something, we're going to cut kind of like that much off each end. And then shape, give the sides a little bit of shape. Make it look like it's got a little bit more dimension to it, a little bit more depth. And then we'll sand this up and get it ready for finish, which is the final step. So it's about 3/4 of an inch that I've marked right here. And we're just going to run that line across to both sides. And that'll give us our starting point or our finishing point for our saw, which will run from this point up to our top there. And then the other side. Okay, there's our starting points, which is right here and right here. Guess I should have an ending point here too. Let's call it, let's go about 1/2 an inch. That'll give it a little bit of character. Perfect. I'm actually going to do it on this side as well, on this one corner, because this is the way I like to cut. I want to cut this way. All right, time to cut. So I've given myself a vertical line here just to help me maintain keeping the saw straight. We'll see how it works. I'll probably totally mess it up. And we are ripping on this, so that's going with the grain, which is a little bit more challenging. And right now I'm actually looking down my blade, and I'm looking down to this line down here as well as I cut through this section. You can see that the cut's a little wider here, because as I'm taking the stroke and I'm looking down to keep myself straight, I sometimes buck it over, but as long as you keep coming back to your line, it's all good. So at the end here, I'm just gonna take it a little slower. The reason being, I don't want to just break it off and leave a big chunk of material still attached that I'll have to kind of mess around with to cut off with the saw. Profile 1. Now the second one looks great here. When I flip it over, we have everybody's favorite Mr. Knot. And that wood right there is going to be very hard and tight. So at this point, as I'm going through, it may be a little bit of a challenge, but hey, it's never stopped us before. But if you're having the same issue, just take it nice and easy. You can actually hear the sound change as you get closer to the end. There's a little bit there still. Let's just make that All right, so we have our profile, and now we want to kind of clean up this sort of profile so it's not so square and boxy. So we'll flatten this off with our flat bastard file, and then we'll knock these corners over a little bit and give it a little bit more feel of depth, even though, I mean, it is three-dimensional, but it's pleasing for the eye. That is what's next. Just gonna take some of the teeth marks from the saw, smooth them out a bit. Again, we're not making a piano here, so don't get too stressed out about making this super smooth. So you can see there's a couple marks here still, but it's not this anymore. All right, for what we're doing, that's fine. It's smooth enough. And now we're gonna knock down, let's start with this edge, these edges, and we'll just maybe 45 of them, yeah, a little 45. We'll see how it looks. Making this up as we go along. So I'm using a file for this. You could use a chisel and just gently peel that away. Probably a little faster. It's just harder to control, you know, a consistent edge. If it catches the grain, it'll want to peel it up. But you could also use a knife and just gently whittle it. Sit around the fire, whittling your wood sword. There's a bit of a, you can see now it's got a bit more of a profile to it. A little bit of an angle. And you can make that as sharp or as shallow, or you can round it, whatever you want to do. You can just leave it straight if you want. There's nothing that says you can't. So we'll do this other edge, these other two edges, and then we'll get to these end points. I decided I want more angle, so I'm bringing out the big, nasty rasp. That looks all right. Just clean it up a little bit. I like that better. Yeah. All right. Let's do the other side here. So as you're doing it, you can just compare the one side to the other. Look at the angles on the ends. They're pretty close. All right, to the edges. This one might be, this could be a little bit more challenging. We'll see. It's a nice transition. And then we'll just give these guys a little buzz. That's better. Trying to go against the grain. quite groovy. That big rasp. Man, the more I use that rasp, the more I like it. Because this thing is great for little tiddly work, but for just removing stock. Rasp is lovely. All right. For demonstration purposes, I think that's good. A couple different intersecting angles. Again, doesn't have to look perfect. So let's sand this thing down. We're going to start sanding the sword now. We're going to use some 100 grit sandpaper. This is some very dangerous sandpaper because you need to wear eye protection, face and body protection when sanding. You probably should. I'm not going to say it's a bad idea, but I think that's just a little overkill. Body protection. I don't know. Get my helmet on or something. Oh, and so what I'm doing is I just got a piece of cedar here. You can use anything, wrap it around, as long as it's flat. I like to kind of go one way and then go the other way. And I just look for how it looks. So this is what we've sanded. You can see it's kind of white and a little bit clearer. It also feels nice. And then you get down to here to the unsanded portion. It's rough and it has that kind of dull look to it. So again, it comes down to what you want to do, what your preference is. A little careful on your edge. You don't want to be sanding. There's your angle. You don't want to be sanding like this and then causing this line to kind of bow into the sword. You sort of need to pay a little bit of attention here. So you can see the file marks that were on this originally. It's kind of the same idea over here. There's a little, you can probably see a little bit of that one. But the sandpaper smooths it out pretty nice. Everything's smooth to the touch. Edges are smoother. There's a little bit of grainage on it and a little bit of gouging from the... But I'm going to call that ready for stain or clear coat. We haven't quite decided yet. We'll surprise you in the next scene. Congratulations, you've made it to the point that you actually have a wood sword and you are finished and it's sanded and it looks pretty cool and it feels good in your hand. What I'm going to do now is throw a little bit of clear coat on here. And the only reason I do that is because wood tends to suck up the moisture that's around it, including the stuff on your hands. So if you've got dirty hands, even if you have clean hands, eventually the wood's going to start to look dull and then it's going to start to look dirty. But also it will soak up moisture in the air if you're in a damp environment or if you leave it outside accidentally. So if you want, you can leave it like this, it doesn't matter. Or you can hit it with a clear finish, aerosol. Or you can brush it on, which is what I'm going to do with this clear lacquer. Now this stuff stinks, so don't do it in the kitchen. And don't do it in a closed room like we're about to, because it's cold outside. But it really does stink. And we're also going to use, this is a Miniwax wood stain, Colonial Maple. And my cameraman suggests that we do the handguard and the handle, and I think that's going to look pretty sweet. So clear coat the blade, Colonial Maple everything else, and then when that's dry, we'll give it a quick sand. We'll probably do two coats off camera, and you'll see what it looks like the next time you tune in. So tune in later. So let's start with Colonial Maple, because it doesn't stink as much, and then we'll move to the clear coat. We are ready to stain. Wear hand protection, because it will stain your skin, and you'll look funny at school. So I have been shaking this stain for the last couple minutes, mainly because it's been sitting on my shelf for like the last 3 years. At least that's the last time I remember using it. So you want all the solids to get mixed in. Oh, look at that, that's lovely. And just in case, let's just see. Oh yeah. Looks a little lighter than I remembered, but well. So I'm just going to use paper towel. You can use a brush if you want, whatever. I just always use paper towel. Doesn't mean you have to. So I'm just going to put it on fairly heavily. This is the thing when you're using the stain, is the stain will show you all of your little gouges and things like that. But that's not a big deal. You put it on heavily because you want the wood to soak it up. You want especially the end grains, to draw it into the wood itself. Make for a nice stain, and also gives it extra protection against the elements. So as I get close to the blade, I'm not going to be too worried about getting a little bit of stain on the base of the blade. If you are, you can literally just put it down and walk it in, and the wood will draw it in. I've got other plans for this sword. Well, Colonial Maple is a little lighter than I remember, but it'll be a good contrast. All right, phase 1 complete. Moving on to the clear coat. I'm going to crack this open, and just so you know, we have cracked the garage door because we want to, be able to remember our phone numbers tomorrow. Because this stuff has the smiley face on it. And you shouldn't smoke around it. Hopefully you as 12-year-olds are not smoking. If so, please quit. Here we go. Clear coat's one of my favorite things to do. I just like how it looks. The idea with the clear coat is to get a nice even finish. This stuff basically self-levels to a degree, but you want to get as much on as possible without it kind of sagging. So I always go with the roller. I've used a brush before, and that's fine, but you probably could rag it. You can see a bleach portion of the wood where it was stacked. Some guy didn't sand this very well. So once this dries, we will, for the next episode, you'll see it already done. We'll give it a quick sand and then give it another hit of clear coat. So it gives it protection. It also gives it a little bit more feeling of depth in the grain. Kind of makes it pop out at you. Make sure I'm not missing anything crazy. There's a little bit at the bottom. We are basically done. We've got a first clear coat. We've got a little bit of stain on here. I think I'm going to stain this a little bit darker the next time you see it. But it needs to be lightly sanded. A second clear coat. You can put as many clear coats on as you want. I'll probably just do 2. I'll darken this up with a little darker stain. And then essentially it's done. And you're ready to hang it on your wall or play with it outside or whatever you want to do. But it's a good project. And if you take it to this point, you'll have something that you can look at and remember the skills that you learned and impress your family and friends. So next time that you see us, perhaps we've got some other little add-ons that we can do to this sword to make it pop a little bit more. If not, enjoy your sword, have fun, and please don't hit anybody with it, because parents just really don't like that. Other parents don't like it either. and it will not make you popular or socially acceptable. So have fun with it, play safe, and enjoy your sword, and glad you could be here with us. We'll talk to you next time.